Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Thranda Cessna 208 Caravan review. As you can see in front of us, we've got the 208 Caravan. We've just discussed the exterior and interior and the Dynamic Generation series by Thranda in the previous video, which was part 1, and in part 2 we're actually going to take her for a test flight. I've just configured the aircraft to my personal liking. This is a shorter Caravan, not the Grand Caravan model, so it's a little smaller, which I personally kind of like. I think it's a bit of the rarer airplane. And we've got the captain's door open, so we're ready to hop in. We've already removed all covers and tie-downs. Our exterior pre-flight checks are done. The plan for today is to take off from Allan-Burrows Island, and then we'll fly over to Port Angeles, which is in Washington State, pick up a few holiday passengers, fly them back, and land here on Allan-Burrows Island and check out the short field performance of the 182. Sorry, 182. What am I talking about? Of the Cessna 208. I'm up for an entirely different airplane here. Okay, in terms of weight and balance, I've changed this to have club seating, which is kind of an executive configuration, which I thought was really cool, or which I think is really cool, especially for this sort of mission. We've got a space for 5 passengers in here, which is a fairly light load, but that means we have all the more space for baggage and fuel. Our fuel tanks are a bit more than half full, which should be more than enough for this flight, but we've got that amount of fuel just as a kind of safety net, and that's all a good idea. Let's hop inside real quick, and let's go ahead and close the door. Just gonna pop up the menu here. Now, we'll be starting on battery, obviously, as we are not at a big airplane. Well, we are in a big airplane, sorry about that, but we're not at a big airport, so we don't have all the amenities of ground power units and auxiliary power units. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's get started. I'm not going to cover the checklists in full. The creator of this airplane, Nojo, has excellent tutorials on all the checklists on his YouTube channel. I believe you can find it under Joseph No. I'll put a link down below in the description so you can check out his videos. And I don't really want to bore you with endless checklists. I'm basically just gonna do my thing here, and I'll be right back with you once we're ready to start the Cessna 208's engines. Alright, we're back and we're ready to start up our Cessna 208 Caravan. So, starting engine with a battery start. Battery switch is on. Beacon light and navigation light is on in a second. So, that's a strobe, nav, and beacon. Very good. They're on. Volt and ammeter. Just checking the battery. Amperage withdrawing, and the voltage is above 23. That's good. Good. Oh, yep. So we've got our 24 volts. Perfect. Emergency power lever is in off position. Propeller area is clear. We'll just open the window here for a bit. Clear prop. Very good. And fuel boost switch. We'll turn it to on. Auxiliary fuel pump light is on. Fuel pressure low is off, and fuel pressure is available. Now we just have to turn that back to normal, and it's intermittently on. Perfect. And we'll turn it back to on, and no fuel flow. Now we'll turn the starter switch to start. Starter energized, ignition on. Okay, engine oil pressure is coming up. NG is coming up and stabilized, and that means that we can move our condition lever into low idle. Pushing it up a little bit higher, and we've got light, good. Fuel flow, perfect. ITT hasn't spiked too high. NG is at 52% minimum. So we can turn the starter switch to off. Engine instruments are looking good. Oil pressure is almost in the green. Oil temperature also. Generator off. Annunciator is off. And the battery is charging. If we go up to the generator, we see that that one is flipping amperage, and the voltage is also risen, so that's all good. Switching this back to battery. Let's see if the battery should decide to go down. Wonderful. Okay. Everything is more or less perfect. Fuel boost switch, we'll just put that back down into normal. Standby power switch is off. That annunciator is on. Avionics number 1 is on. Avionics number 2 is on. Suction gauge is good in the green. Cabin heating as desired. Radios as required. Okay. So we'll just do that in a few seconds. And I'll be right back with you once we're ready and configured for flight. Okay. So what I've done now is I've quickly set the aircraft up for taxi. I've set up our flight plan, and we're all ready and good to go. Now all I need to do is get the parking brake off, which I just did, and add in a bit amount of power, and we're ready to taxi out. Now, my goal is to depart this runway to the north, and that's why we're taxiing to the south end of Allan-Burrows Island. Now, Allan-Burrows Island is actually a small private island that was owned by, I believe, one of the Microsoft CEOs at one point, and it's a really cool small island. It's obviously got this kind of small camping area here that we're about to pass, and just quickly show that. There you go. And yeah, that really makes it a nice little holiday destination. And of course it's got this big airstrip, and that's why this is the place to go, apparently, and that's why I'm going to show you a takeoff from this place. At the moment the aircraft is very, very light, so we don't have full fuel. We only have one passenger, so we're really in a situation where this is going to be a super, super easy takeoff, super easy departure situation here for an airplane as powerful as the 208 Caravan. Now, the runway at Allan-Burrows does have one special thing about it, and that special thing about it is that it has a dip. So it's going to go down here a bit, but we will need a lot of runway. We don't want to underestimate what the 208 needs in terms of runway. That's really important. I'm just going to go on the brakes lightly here because I don't want to overrun what little runway we have. There you are. Now, I'm almost at the end of the runway, just adding in a wee bit of power. Actually, no, I'm just going to let it roll down here. At the moment, it's all gravity pulling us. As you can see, this is a slightly downward sloped runway, and we're now at the end of the runway. I'm adding in a bit of power so we can turn here. Taking out a bit of power again. There you go. Now, the cool thing about this runway and about this airport in itself is that it's relatively wide. So we do not have to worry at all about runway width. The only thing that could cause us a headache is runway length. So I'm just going to stop here, stop the brakes so we don't roll backwards, and there you go. And pull the parking brake, because we've got a few more things to do. Now, first off, I'm going to change the CDI to GPS so that we've got the nav indicator here. Good for now. My direct to course is 221. So, oh, why isn't this working the way I want it to work? Setting this up for 221. Apparently, for some reason, the CDI doesn't want to work the way I want it to work. I'm just going to assume that this is my error. But we'll check that in just a second. Okay, So I've set up my heading indicator, and we won't be needing that CDI a lot at all. I'm just going to quickly set up the autopilot over here. Now, there's a great video by Nojo on the autopilot, but we're going to turn on the flight director. We're going to set up an altitude arm. We're going to go for 4,000 feet for now. We're going to set up heading hold in arm, and we're going to set up vertical speed mode. We're going to set up 500 feet per minute for now, so that we have enough airspeed on takeoff. Okay, we're all good. I'm happy, and I'll go through the before takeoff checklist and be with you in just a second. Okay, so we're back and we're all set up. I've done all of my important checklists. Weather radar is on, everything's ready. We're in altitude mode on the transponder, so I feel like we might as well be ready to take off. Okay, so before I'm releasing the brakes, pushing the power up. Now I'm releasing the brakes, maintaining center line. There's takeoff power. And rolling, 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 rolling. There's rotation speed. And up we go. Up, 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 up. And we're climbing. Perfect. And we're making our turn towards our nav heading, and we're continuing to climb. We're climbing a bit fast. Just gonna drop the flaps real quick. Perfect. And I'm reducing my power. Okay. So we're at 1,200 feet. Almost on heading. There you go. And now we're on heading. Now all I need to do is trim the airplane a bit faster. Don't need that high rate of ascent. What I would want much rather would be a nice and easy high forward speed. So I'm going to engage the autopilot and yaw damper. So now I'm going to maintain that 500 foot per minute descent rate. We've got our altitude armed at 4,000 feet. And we're on our way. 170 knot ground speed. Just checking my messages. It's all good. We're in the sim. It's not so much of an issue. And I'm going to add in a bit more power. So then we'll go ahead and reduce our RPMs to reduce the cabin noise factor. Let's go for 1,800 here. And our torque's increasing. And we're climbing past 2,000 feet. Now, I don't want to climb at more than those 700 feet per minute for one simple reason. If we climb any faster than that, it's going to be a bit uncomfortable for our passengers. Well, at the moment, we're only the captain on board, but, you know, let's just make that a good habit so that our passengers are comfortable even in the future. And we're already at almost 140 knots, so that's actually pretty fast in terms of cruising speed. We can turn off landing lights. That's unnecessary. Strobe light as well. We'll leave on the pitot heat and stuff. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it looks as if we're airborne and en route to Port Angeles. And we'll be at our cruising altitude in just about 3 minutes, and I'll be right back with you in then. Okay, so welcome back to the 208 Caravan. I've now set myself up for cruise power already. We don't quite need it yet because we're not yet cruising. We're still climbing, but we'll reach our altitude in about 1.5 minutes. You can see to the left of us, we've already got Port Angeles, or well, we've got the outskirts. Got Sequim over here, and Port Angeles should come up somewhere up front. Yeah, so that's pretty close already, and then we've got everything else set up perfectly. We've got our torque set up according to manual, our prop RPM. Everything's just, yeah, the way we expect it to be, and we'll be able to do a quick turnaround once we're in Port Angeles. Alright, everything else is just, yeah, kind of as we expect it to be. The aircraft's cruising wonderfully, really. It's amazing to watch the aircraft cruise, and she's very stable, and yeah, just a fun airplane to fly. Really enjoy the Caravan anyways. I've always enjoyed the Caravan. It's been one of my favorite airplanes for a long time now, but it's great to see a great rendition of the Caravan now available for all of our X-Plane 11 pleasure, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing maybe even a floats version. The reason why I think we might have a floats version is because if you go into the individual instrument layout here, you'll see that close to the end of the list of instruments you'll get a gear advisory panel, similar to the one you have in the float version of the Pilatus PC-6. And that is also a Thranda Dynamic Generation Series aircraft. So perhaps, maybe, we will see a float version of the Caravan, Grand Caravan in the near future, which would be amazing because I love float flying in the sim. I love float flying in the Caravan. It's just, it's fun, it's cool, and I think it's a great way to pass the time. We're doing almost 160 knots, which, by the way, is surprisingly fast. And that's great performance for a little 208 here. So yeah, we should be arriving in Port Angeles in a few minutes. Yeah, you can actually still already see the airport straight up front. So yeah, I'm just gonna set myself up here real quick, and I'll be right back with you once we're setting ourselves up for landing. Okay, so basically we are currently on track to entering downwind. We're going to enter downwind at approximately 140 knots. That at least is our goal for now. A bit fast, perfect. There you go. So we're basically almost where we want to be. We've got all our lights turned on, everything's turned on. We're at about 1,100 feet. That's about pattern altitude in terms of what we want. Just gonna quickly turn over a wee bit so that we're gonna enter downwind for runway 08 at the appropriate angle. I'm gonna quickly reduce power a wee bit. Okay, there you go. You can see the airport up ahead. I'm gonna put back a bit more power so we can maintain our altitude a bit. Hello, no, I don't want to descend. Why is that happening? Okay, there you go. Now we're all good. Okay, so we've got the airport in sight. We are at our set 140 knots. And I'm just gonna turn her into a nice and good left downwind for runway 08. And we're gonna go and decelerate a bit. Basically trimming back. We don't need 140 knots anymore. And leveling out. Straight on the downwind course. There you go. Up, she's climbing a bit now. We can put out even more power. Drop the first notch of flaps. More power out. Let's go for about 110 knots. There you go. Now I'll have to add in a bit of power to maintain those 110 knots. And maintain a level altitude at the same time. That's the general idea here. Okay, let's take a look to the left. Okay, we're past our point. I'm gonna drop the next notch of flaps. And we're gonna start descending, and I'm gonna pull back a bit. There you go. We're turning. Nice and easy, descending at 500 feet per minute. Not too much. We don't want to go too far above those 500 feet per minute. There you are. And there's 80 knots, by the way, and we want to maintain somewhere around about those 80 knots for final. There you go. Almost there. And turning on to final. Whoops, might have just overestimated myself here a bit. Oh, yep, we overshot it a bit, but that's not a problem. Gonna go there. Very good, maintaining those 80 knots. Continuing to descend. We can take out more power now. There you go. Put a bit of power back in. More power. We're getting a little slow there. I want to have those 80 knots nailed on the airspeed indicator. But for some reason my aircraft's saying no. Okay. There you go. Still descending. Right, it wasn't the prettiest landing, but it most definitely was a landing. Props in beta range, probably already. Very good, yes, it is, and we're decelerating. And we're turning off the airport. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Port Angeles. We're going to taxi over to the FBO, pick up our passengers for today, and then it looks like we're ready to return to Allan-Burrows Island. I'm just going to quickly turn the aircraft in here, turn it back so that we can get out of the ramp area later on. Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Port Angeles, and I'll be right back with you in a few minutes when we're returning to Allan-Burrows Island.